Hey there, Heather Boyd Wire here, and this week I'm doing a special request from Virginia for a Triskelion spiral. So what you're going to need for this project are your tools, a ruler, 3 gauges of wire. I have 24 gauge, 20 gauge, and 18 gauge, and you're going to need some kind of cone, either a ring cone or this is my little gadget I made in my last video, or you could just simply use the ends of an icing bag. So you're going to cut 3 lengths of wire that are exactly the same size. This is going to make it easier to make the spirals the same size. So go ahead and cut one, like measure the one, and then just put the other ones against each other to make sure they're the same size. So what you want to do now is just to hold one end of the wire a little, like about an inch past where your cone starts, and then hold it on there and just wind it up. And you don't want it to be too big at the bottom, so just kind of wind it. This one maybe I'm going to do about halfway up, just so it's not too wide. We're going to go like that, and then you want to form 2 more in the same way. So now you have 3 that are more or less the same size, and what you want to do now is with this little end you're going to take your small round pliers and just turn it in to the middle. Now this is where it gets a little tricky adjusting the spiral, but if you're using a nice soft wire like the artistic copper wire is really good for this, then you can get them nice and even. And you can check out my last video of how to make the spirals to get the spiral just right. So you do your adjusting how you want, and then we're going to make them all the same. So now that you have the 3 the same size, you're going to take each one and you want to make a little bit sort of a S-type shape there. So you're just going to bring this around and it's going to look something like that. So now the idea is to sort of fit them together like a puzzle. Okay, you want to make sure they're all going the right direction. Open these spirals up a little bit if you have to, just to get an idea for the size. And then we're going to make a frame around the outside. So this is, I'm going to use the 18 gauge wire for that because it's a lot thicker and more sturdy for the frame. And we'll go ahead and bend that on a right angle. And then use a larger round form. You can use a pill bottle or any kind of round form that you want. And we're just going to bend it around so we have the approximate size of what it should be like. And then we're going to open it up if we need to, because the idea is these are all going to fit inside. So we just kind of get an idea. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. And then what we want to do is we'll just move those over. And then just to help it around here, we're going to hold this with our round pliers, bend it around. This is just so it won't get distorted, because sometimes when you twist the wire, it gets a little pulled in and distorted. So we're going to go ahead and just bend that in like that. Clip the end. Get our flat pliers to help it out a bit. And then get our larger round pliers to bend that the opposite way. Make a loop at the top. This one you'll be able to add a jump ring to put it on a cord. If you want to put it directly on the cord, you just put the loop perpendicular to the piece rather than parallel. So we're going to go like that, and then just kind of push that end in with the flat pliers. So there we go like that. Now this is of course the tricky part. There's always a tricky part that we want to get that inside of there. So how are we going to do that? We're going to get some 24 gauge wire because it's a lot easier to work with than the thicker wire. This is a nice thin wire, but not too thin. So same thing, we're going to cut 3 pieces that are more or less the same size. This isn't super important because you're going to trim them at the end. So where do we start? So let's just remove that. What we have to do now is just take one piece here. I want to make sure these are in the same direction. So we're just going to pick them up, make sure they're in the same direction like that. And then this is going to go under, this piece will go under the under the loop. I don't want to make this too complicated. So let's put this one down. This one's going to go here, kind of under the loop. And then this one, we want to actually attach this on top. So let's get our 24 gauge piece of wire ready. This, if you had 3 hands, it would be amazing, but we only have 2. So this one here, we're going to hold this, put this on top. You'll see it'll get a little bit easier. And then you want to go ahead and string this wire through. So we're going to stick this. This loop is on top of the frame. The other wire from the other loop is underneath. So we're going to take this and just wind the 3 pieces together with our 24 gauge wire. So we're just going to go ahead, do that. You can kind of adjust as you go. And probably loop it around 3 or 4 times to be sure, because you want it to be nice and solid. Okay, so we're going to, that's 1, 2, 3, and then let's go ahead and just loop this last end again, around again. So that's cool like that. Let's leave that like that. And then we're going to do the same with this one. So this piece is going to go under the frame, okay, over to here, and then this spiral is over the frame. Okay, so the frame is kind of sandwiched between the 2 things. Now I'm hungry because it's lunchtime and I said sandwich. That was silly. Actually, I don't even eat sandwiches for lunch. I eat salad for lunch. So there we go. So let's just get this attached. Little tricky to wiggle it around. Okay, so we're just going to go in there. Make sure the other one is underneath. And then we're just going to go ahead and wind it. Okay, and you can just, once you've done one wind around, you can make sure that everything's in the right position. It looks a little complicated, but it's actually not too bad once you get the hang of it. It's just the hard part is getting everything to kind of stay in place without it wiggling everywhere. So let's just go ahead and do 3 little winds. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we can always wind it a little more after. And then the last one, that's going to really bring it together. So let's bring it around here. Okay, I'm just going to twist it around a little bit. See, and this one's kind of pushed out a little bit, so you just have to squish it in there. And then if you have to make these a little bigger, just loosen them up a little bit. Okay, we're just going to wind that. And this too, you want this one underneath. Okay, and then this one like that. Maybe what I could do is make like a little PDF with a diagram of this, and that might be easier for you guys to see exactly what I'm doing. This frame looks like it might be a little big for the piece, but we can unwind the spirals a little bit to get them to fit. So now this same thing here. So the spiral, I'm going to unwind it a little bit so it fits a little better. And we're going to hold it and sandwich the frame in between the spiral and the end of the other spiral. And we're just going to go around 3 times. Okay, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. I think 3 is good. Okay, so now the tricky part is we want it to fit. So see, it's a little bit distorted here, but that's okay. We can just make the spirals a little bit bigger. But I think what is going to be the easiest thing to do is, let's go ahead and clip these little wires. Okay, and we can poke them in a little bit later. So what you really need to do is clip these ends, and you want to clip them the same length on all of them, and that way it's going to be easier to get it even. So what you're going to do is actually see, it looks like there's like 1/2 inch coming past there. So let's bend it up, making sure that it stays about 1/2 inch. We're just going to bend it around those 24 gauge wires that are wound. So if we do that, we're just going to go ahead and do that and then clip it. So what we're going to do, if we do that for all of them, you're going to be sure that each spiral has the same amount of wire in it. So let's go ahead here as well. Make sure it's the same, about 1/2 inch. Okay, we're going to go like that and bring it around. Okay, that's why it's really important to cut your wires all the same size when you start this project, because then you have a little bit of a guidance for that. And then this one too, so let's make sure it's like half. This one looks like it's not like right behind, so we just have to wiggle it around a little bit to make sure it's actually behind the piece. Yeah, that's better. Sometimes you can use your pliers to do that. So 1/2 inch as well, bring it around to the 1/2 inch and pull it, and then we're just ending up clipping about 1/4 inch off. Okay, and then what you can do is go ahead and clip your other 24 gauge ones to make sure that you don't have any extra wires there. So now we have the basic shape. So it looks pretty good already, but you do want to maybe adjust it to make sure it's more or less even. So at that point, knowing that all the wires are the same size, you can go ahead and just kind of adjust it a little bit. Now this one, I see that the wire needs to be flipped to the front because it got pushed to the back. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then some of these you might have to adjust the curves a little bit. This one too, we're going to have to pull it in a little bit. And it's just the little kind of final touches, the little adjustments. And this is where you can, what you could even do is not twist this at the top at first, leave it open, and then that way you can open and close this frame ring a little bit too. You'll have a little more give with this. But if you're finding that the spirals don't quite fit, just open and close the spirals a little bit to get them right. You can measure in between here if you want, and just if you want to push the design a little bit around depending on your position. So there you go. So thanks so much for watching the video. Give it a big thumbs up if you liked it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for lots more wire art and jewelry making videos. Hit the notification bell to be notified when I go live and when I post new videos. And if you're not already a member of the Facebook group, please join us in the Wire Art and Jewelry Makers Club on Facebook and share photos of your creations. And if you don't have Facebook, no problem. You could email me photos to info@heatherboydwire.com and I'll share them in the community section of the YouTube channel. And if you'd like to check out my wire art and jewelry in my Etsy shop, my husband and I specialize in wedding cake toppers and really funky special requests for jewelry. So I'll link up my Etsy shop below. And I also offer a wire art and jewelry course. So I'll link up the course below where you can learn some different techniques about flattening wire for bookmarks. Also, I have a tutorial on how to make special coiled wire for beads. And I have my own technique on how to twist wires together to make really beautiful trees. So thanks for watching again, and we'll see you the next time.